Good morning, it's Norma Cowie, and it's Sunday morning, so this is a Sunday Thought. I put my reverend hat on yesterday in performing a wedding. It was delightful. There was threat of rain, there was threat of thunderstorms, but it stayed away. So it was an outside wedding. It was very nice. It was really good. Actually, I enjoyed lots of it. It was 3 years in the making because of COVID. The couple kept putting the date off to the next year, to the next year, to the next year. And then in the middle of all that, there was a birth of a child. It was, interesting, but it was nice to finally make it all complete. And we, it was an interesting ceremony. I loved a lot of what they did, which I won't bore you with because that's theirs. But it was fun. It was interesting. It was different. But it made me think once more about the importance of communication. I do a lot of readings and transformation for people, and communication every now and again does come up as being an important aspect, and it's something we take for granted. We say what we think or we feel or we, etc. But often communication has a lot to do with listening to what the other person has to say, hearing the nuances often, because very often we pretend that it's not a big deal or it's not important when it really is important to us, wanting to make things and bring things about in the way we are. I also want to talk about something that I find probably the most contentious thing I have to deal with people when people phone up and complain, and I'm going to use that word literally, about their children, adult children usually, about their parents, what to do, how to handle, what's going on. Now, very often, and I'm going to just stay with children for a moment, adult children. This happened the other day when I had a client and she did not like what I had to say. She was saying, about her child. I'll just put it. Well, we only have either a daughter or a son usually. So anyway, she was a little upset about something that was going on. Now, this is how I do it. I say, okay, what age are they? Write down the age. So let's say 30, 35. And I ask the person, if you go inside in your mind's eye, how old are they in your mind's eye? In this case, 13. And I tried to explain that as long as the inner vision of the child, which is a man at that point, is held at 13, every time they have anything to do with them, they will feel 13, they will act 13. And in life, they will tend to act 13. Well, my client didn't like that very much. So I don't like arguing with clients, but I just happen to know that this works. It worked in relation to my children and growing as they grew on up. Once I had it, I don't know where I got it from, but I think I was given the answer one time when I was trying to resolve something for a client. And then I found, and when I applied it to my own children, I found it works very, very well. And if I begin to have any kind of discourse, I would always check inside, how are they? And sometimes I didn't always keep up with the mental age. That happened recently, a couple of years ago with my son. And I had to go, I went, oh, you got to keep up with the age, because an age at one time, and then even if 3 years later, there's maturity, there's changes in age, changes in all sorts of things. This is one of what I call the little secrets of life when it comes to communication, your own inner pictures. The same applies for parents. Your parents moving into their 70s and 80s, maybe even older, and things change. There's change every decade. There was a book put out by Gail Sheeny many years ago, and it would dealt with an interviews that she did with people who were 10 years difference in their age. I'm just trying to come right now at this moment. I can't bring back the title of the book, but it was around patterns, I think. And you look at life differently at 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. What she did was went back 10 years later and interviewed everybody. And again, notice the changes. on how they were, how they perceived things, how they looked at things. Sometimes in our very fast life, we don't consider time as being maybe important. That, gee, I'm in my mid-20s, I'm some, and so my mid-30s will be the same. But then they don't really always work quite like that. But what I really wanted to impress was communication, and to sure, and for people who are close to you, like people that you deal with regularly, especially your family, is that the internal picture of who they are in relation to their age is the same as the external age. I know I have another birthday coming up in, pretty soon, a couple of months, I think it is. And it's always very interesting when you have these sort of birthdays. Some birthdays are more milestones than others, but it's like coming up, and again, what is your inner communication about yourself in relation to where you are and where you're going? So just take a look inside. Just stop and think of your children. What ages are they now? How old are they in your mind? Because you want communication to be working really, really well. You want to be able to speak your truth. You want to be able to come forward in every which way. So it's always nice when you see a wedding, because family come together, friends come together, and it's joyous for me. And I always like it when I put my reverend hat on. Now, my reverend hat is on every Monday night for mental mind treatments, but I don't make a big thing about being a reverend, even though to me it's very important. And I certainly appreciate the group that I am associated with. So that's my Sunday thought today. Making sure that your inner pictures match the age of the people who are close to you externally, and to communicate, be able to speak your truth gently and easily, and to be kind, and to listen. Oh, I didn't always listen. So when I look back, some of my issues were not listening because I wanted to be right. But that's not how relationships work. Relationships work when you are able to really listen and be able to communicate what it is. And I found by keeping the age inside equal to the age outside helps tremendously. You go have a great Sunday. It's beautiful weather here, even though we sort of had this thunderstorm thing threatening. And I just want you to have a good. I'll see you on Monday night, which is only tomorrow night. And if you remember, if you have something that you would like me to do a mental mind treatment for, please let me know. Appreciate it. Lots of fun. Have fun. Bye now.